Hello and good morning, everyone. Till the time we wait for the session to start, you guys can go to our social media platform. I've shared the link chat box. The communities and join. We will start the session in few minutes. I guess the participants are still joining. We'll wait for a few more minutes and then we'll start the session.
काय विषय भाऊ काय
Hello, Shu. Shub, are you there?
Hello, hello Archie.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, I am here. You can start the meeting, okay?
Yeah, we're starting in few minutes, huh?
Okay, okay, okay.
Yes, I'll start the session right now.
Shub, you can start now, okay?
Yes. Am I audible clearly? Hello, Archie, am I audible
Yes, sir.
clearly? Okay, yeah, thank you, sir.
Yes, yes, Shub.
Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome. We are truly delighted to be here today with the students and faculty of Siagar Technical Education Society, Pune. This session has been specially organized for your university with the aim of empowering you with the latest knowledge and practical insights into generative AI and modern cloud technologies. At Synergetics, we believe in bringing industry grade learning directly to academic institutions so that students like you can stay ahead of the curve and be ready for the future of technology. We are excited to share this journey with you today, and we look forward to making it an engaging and impactful learning experience. The topic for today is generative AI. So, this session is sponsored by Synergetics. Synergetics is the leading edge learning solutions provider in India, offering specialized training and consulting services. We empower businesses and professionals to thrive in today's fast evolving tech landscape by delivering transformative learning experiences. Our core focus is on enabling digital transformation through innovative skilling programs, advisory services, and end to end implementation support. From modernizing IT frameworks to mastering emerging technologies like AI, cloud computing, and DevOps, Synergetics is committed to equipping you with the tools and knowledge to succeed. This is the certification skilling journey. The journey begins with the fundamental certification, and then it progresses to advanced role based certification, and finally to expert level certification. The agenda for this webinar is understanding the fundamentals and evolution of generative AI, applications of generative AI, utilizing AI for generating text, images, and multimedia content, ChatGPT and Bing Chat, practical exercises on leveraging AI for drafting emails, summarizing documents, and generating creative content, ethical considerations and challenges, and utilizing Copilot. For those who for those attending this session, we are providing complimentary learning achievement badges for this session, which includes an overview of the modules, topics which are related to this webinar. You can share these badges on your LinkedIn or Twitter profile as well. To get the badges activated, you just need to follow the certain steps and redeem the badges. These badges will be shared with you by end of the session. Now to make this session interactive, let's go through a few MCQ questions. You can see we have 10 questions. You can see the question number one on your screen. If you know the answer, you can just drop the option A, B, C, or D in the chat box. I hope everyone can see my screen. If you know the answer, just drop the answer A, B, C, or D in the chat box. Okay, so I'll share the answers for all the 10 questions by end of this PPT. So I'll go to the next slide. Can actually AI think like humans? What do you guys think? Just drop your answer in the chat box. Um, Actually, I'll tell you the answer right away. So the answer for question number one was option B. It creates new content like text, images, or music. What generative AI different from traditional AI? So the answer is B. It creates new content like text, images, or music. And for and can AI actually think like humans? Um, Actually, the answer is option B again. It only predicts based on data patterns. So which tool is best for coding assistance? Quickly drop your answers, guys, if you know the answers. I see many have answered answer B. Yes, option B is correct. It is GitHub Copilot. Which AI tools can help in academic research? Guys, drop your answers in the chat box. See. So the answer is option A. It's ChatGPT, Gemini, Consensus, and Elicit. Next question. What is prompt engineering? Do you guys know what is prompt engineering? Quickly drop your answers. Yes, the answer is option B, giving AI clear instructions to improve outputs. Go with the next question. In the prompt framework, the P stands for what? If you guys know the answer, share it quickly. It's not B, the answer is A, paragraphs and persona. Go ahead with the next question. Submitting AI written assignments as your own, is this acceptable? Give your answers quickly, guys. What do you guys think? Is it A, B, C, or D? Well, I see everyone is obsessed with the word B. For every question, I can see only B. So the correct answer is option B this time. Yes, a form of plagiarism and academic dishonesty. We'll go ahead with the next question. Why does AI sometimes hallucinate? Proper answers, everyone. Yes, again, option B is correct. It generates text based on probability, not facts. Go ahead with the next question. How can bias appear in AI outputs? Proper answers quickly, guys. Yes, option B is correct. AI reflects biases from its training data. So the last question, will AI replace students and professionals? Guys, drop your answers quickly. Let's see who answers correctly. Yes, again correct. Option B is the right answer. Will AI replace students and professionals? No, but those who learn to use AI will have an edge. That's the correct answer. Uh, so this was the last question. I'll proceed to the next slide. So guys, do follow us on our social media platforms to get relevant updates on upcoming webinars, workshops, and certification training we do. So if you guys want to learn more about AI, do follow us on our social media platforms. We post about events and webinars on daily basis. So you'll be updated about everything we post on social media regarding the AI sessions. We are thrilled to have Mr. Smith Shah as our today's speaker. He is a certified Microsoft trainer and a consultant at Synergetics. He brings a wealth of knowledge and experience in AI and cloud technologies. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to me. Now we'll hand over the mic to our speaker for today, Mr. Smith Shah. Smith, sir, you can uh, t- take over from here.
Yes, thanks, Shubh. So, good morning to each and every one of you, and welcome to the session on Gen AI. My name is Smith Shah, and I will be your mentor for today's session. Before proceeding ahead, I will just give a brief introduction about myself. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. On top of that, I'm a Azure certified data scientist, a Azure certified AI engineer, as well as a Azure certified data engineer. And I've been conducting trainings in the data science and AI field since the last 7 to 8 years for multiple international as well as domestic clients, including LTI Mindtree, Capgemini, Accenture, Cognizant, and many, many more. So that was just a brief introduction about me. Now let's start with today's session. So guys, in today's session, we are going to work with Gen AI models. Now, there are many Gen AI models available in the market. You have Gen AI models created by Anthropic company. So you might have heard of Gen AI models like Cloud Sonnet 3.0, Cloud Sonnet 4.0, right? Then you have Gen AI models created by Google. So Google has created multiple Gen AI models like Gemini 2.0, Gemini 3.0, right? Then you have many Gen AI models created by OpenAI company like GPT 3.5, GPT 4, GPT 4o, GPT 5. All of these are Gen AI models created by OpenAI company. Now, if you ask me that Smith, which Gen AI models should we use if we want to use those Gen AI models for free? So let's suppose if you don't want to pay for any plan, if you're looking to use Gen AI models for free, I would suggest using the Claude models created by Anthropic company. Okay. The reason is with Claude models, there is no hard limit on how many times you can use the models. Okay, unlike in other models, which are created by Google or which are created by OpenAI, there you will have a hard limit that if you have a free plan, you can only call the models 20 times in 2 hours or 25 times in 2 hours and so on, depending upon the model that you use. So if you are looking to use models for free, if you're looking to use Gen AI models for free, and if you're wondering which Gen AI model to use, try to use Claude models created by Anthropic company. Okay. With Claude models, there is no hard limit on how many times you can call the models for free. The only thing is you will have to rely on the traffic at that time. So for example, if the traffic, the number of requests being sent to the cloud models are too much and it's too much for the company to handle, what they will do is they will give preference to the paid users as compared to the free users. So they will put a message to free users that, okay, currently there is too much traffic, so you can't use the models. Whereas to paid users, they will still allow them to use the models. Okay. So if you are using these cloud models for free, you will have to rely on the traffic at that time. But apart from that, there is no hard limit. Okay. So if you want to use Gen AI models for free, cloud models is the one that I would suggest to you. Now coming back to our session. So guys, in this session, we'll be working with Gen AI models created by OpenAI company. So GenAI models like GPT 3.5, GPT 4, GPT 4o. Okay, we'll try to work with those models. Let's go ahead. So guys, currently there is an agreement between OpenAI company and Azure company. As per that agreement, whatever GenAI models OpenAI company will create, it will make it available on Azure as well. I repeat, currently there is an agreement between OpenAI company and Azure company. As per that agreement, whatever GenAI models OpenAI company will create, they will make it available on Azure as well. Now, whenever Azure makes available a feature, it makes it available through a service. So for example, in Azure, you can store data in SQL. So Azure will make that feature available through Azure SQL service. Then in Azure, you can store data in Cosmos database. So Azure will make that feature available through Azure Cosmos DB service. Similarly, in Azure, you can interact with the models created by OpenAI. So to use that feature, Azure has created Azure OpenAI service. So the service that we'll be working with today is called Azure OpenAI service. Okay. So let's try to use the service. I will try to search for that service in the search bar. I can see an option for it in the search result. Let me click on that option. Now what I want to do is I want to use this service. Let's see how to use it. In Azure, there is a rule. Whenever you want to use any service of Azure, you have to go ahead and create a resource of that service. I repeat myself, guys. Whenever you want to use any service of Azure, you have to go ahead and create a resource of that service. Okay. So in order to understand this, let's take an example. So I'm sure some of you might be aware about procedural languages like Python, Java. In those procedural languages, you have a concept called class, right? Whenever you want to use the code inside of a class, what do? We create a object of that class, right? We create a object of that class. Similarly, here in Azure, whenever you want to use the service, you will have to go ahead and create a resource of that service, which is nothing but an object of that service in simple words. Fine. So just remember guys that in Azure, whenever you want to use any service of Azure, you have to go ahead and create a resource of that service. Let's do that. Let's try to create a resource of that service. For that, I'll click on this create button. Now I'll be redirected to a form that I have to fill. Let's fill in the details of this form. The first field in the form is asking me to select subscription. Guys, remember that from your Azure account, you can create multiple subscriptions for different employees of your organization. One subscription you can create for a person in the HR team. Another subscription you can create for a person in the IT team and so on. Each subscription can have different set of permissions assigned to it. For example, the first subscription that you have created is for a HR employee. This HR employee is not going to do a lot of work on Azure. So in that subscription that you have created for HR employee, you will only give access to storage service of Azure. Whereas the second subscription that you have created is for a person in the IT team. This IT person is going to do a lot of work on Azure. So in the subscription that you have created for the IT employee, you will give access to all the services of Azure. So the point that I'm making is you can create multiple subscriptions for different employees of your organization. In every subscription, you can assign different set of permissions. Additionally, in every subscription, you can assign different amount of money into it. Okay. For example, the first subscription that you have created is for a HR employee. This HR employee is not going to do a lot of work on Azure. So for that subscription, you will upload $10 worth of credit. Whereas the second subscription that you are creating is for a person in the IT team. This IT person would do a lot of work on Azure. So for that subscription, let's suppose you're uploading $2,000 worth of credits. So the point that I'm making is from your Azure account, you can create multiple subscriptions for different employees of your organization. Every subscription can have different set of permissions assigned to it, and every subscription can have different amount of money uploaded into it. Currently, there is only one subscription available to me. This has been given to me by Microsoft. Every Microsoft certified trainer will be given this subscription to them. Okay. This is given to us so that we can conduct lectures on Microsoft products. Anyways, so let me use that subscription over here. Next, I'm being asked to put my resource in some of the other resource group. You can think of a resource group as a folder for your resources. Okay. So the idea is that resources belong to the same project should be put inside the same resource group for better management of resources. So here, either I can select an existing resource group or create a new one. Let me create a new resource group called test webinar RG. Okay, you can give any name to your resource group, doesn't matter. Next, I am being asked to choose the region for my resource. There are 3 points that you need to remember while selecting region. Point number one is make sure that you choose a region closer to your user for better latency. So if your user is in United States, make sure that you choose a region closer to United States. That's point number one. Second point is depending upon the region that you choose, you will have access to different OpenAI models. For example, in East US, you have access to some OpenAI models. In Sweden Central, you have access to more OpenAI models and so on. So if you ask me that, Smith, which is that one region which has access to most of the important OpenAI models? It is Sweden Central region. Okay. Now, if you want to know that in which region you have access to which OpenAI models, just go to the documentation page. And from here, you will get to know that in which region you have access to which OpenAI models. Let me show you that. I'll go to the documentation page. I'll scroll below in the documentation page and you'll be able to see a table. Let me show you that table over here. Here is that table. And from here, you can see that different regions have access to different OpenAI models. Australia East has access to very few OpenAI models. Sweden Central has access to most of the important OpenAI models and so on. I'll give you a link of this documentation page in the chat if you want to refer it later. Okay. But remember that depending upon the region that you choose, you have access to different OpenAI models. So there are 3 points that you need to note with respect to region. First point is make sure that you choose a region closer to your user for better latency. Second, depending upon the region that you choose, you have access to different OpenAI models. Sweden Central is one region that has access to most of the important OpenAI models. Point number three that you need to remember with respect to region is that avoid East to West region. Okay, as this is just my suggestion that avoid East US region. The issue is with East US region, you will be able to create a resource in that region, but when you will try to access that resource, you will face some strange issues. Okay, this is due to traffic. Currently, there is a lot of traffic in East US region since the last few months. So East US region is facing a lot of issues. Okay, so just remember this point. Just avoid East US region. Apart from that, you can select any region that you like. Fine. Next, I am being asked to assign a name for my resource. Let me assign a name. I'll call it webinar OpenAI resource. Then I'm being asked to choose the pricing tier. Earlier, there were two pricing tiers available. We had free tier and then we had standard tier. Okay, these were the two pricing tiers available. The advantage of free tier was that with free tier, you could call the models free of cost. There was no cost that you had to pay. Okay. But the disadvantage of free tier was that there were a lot of limitations with respect to it. So you could only call the models 20 times in 2 hours. Then they increased that limit to 25 times in 2 hours and so on. So in free tier, the advantage was that you did not have to pay any cost, but the disadvantage was that there were a lot of limitations with respect to usage. Okay, to avoid those limitations, people use standard tier. With standard tier, the disadvantage is that you will have to pay some cost for usage. But the advantage is that unlike free tier where there are a lot of limitations, in standard tier, those limitations do not exist. Okay, so earlier we had two pricing tiers available, free and standard, but currently access to free tier is taken away. So you only have standard tier left now. Okay, that's why in this drop down, you will only see standard tier available to me. Free tier option has been removed for now. Okay, now let me click on next button. Here I'm being asked to do network configuration. Let's understand each of the three options available over here. Okay, selecting the first option means that the resource that you are creating will be accessible over the internet. It will have a public endpoint that can be reached from any network, provided that the requester has the necessary authentication credentials. Okay. Remember, with the first option, you will get a public endpoint. Public endpoint means endpoint, and endpoint is nothing but a URL. Okay. So using that URL, you will be able to access your resource. Now, when I say public endpoint, that means the same URL can be accessed by me, same URL can be accessed by you, and so on. Okay. On the other hand, you had second option over here. So let's suppose you're working in a company like Accenture. You want to ensure that only people connected to Accenture network should be able to access the resource. Other people should not be able to access. So in that case, you can go ahead and select the second option, wherein you can specify which network should access the resource or which IP addresses should access the resource. Let's suppose you are working in a team of 5 people. You want to ensure that only those 5 people should be able to access your resource. So you can specify their IP addresses that will ensure that only those 5 people will be able to access your resource. But again, over here, you will get a public endpoint. Okay, but this is a more restricted type of setting. Okay, because you can limit access to certain networks or certain IP addresses that you trust. On the other hand, with the third option, you will be able to access the resource using a private endpoint. Okay, not a public endpoint, guys. You will be able to access the resource using a private endpoint. What is a private endpoint? A private endpoint uses a private IP address from a virtual network, ensuring that the traffic between your virtual network and the service on Azure does not traverse the internet. So guys, the choice among these options should be guided based on the specific network security requirements of your organization. For public facing services, you would choose the first option, but for sensitive or internal services, you would likely choose the second or third to enhance security. For this demo, I will choose the first option. Now let me click on next. Here I am being asked to do tag configuration. It's optional if you want to assign tags to your resource. Tags help you to give more information about your resource. Let's understand with help of an example. For example, you are in a clothing shop. In a clothing shop, every cloth will be assigned a tag, which will help the shopkeeper give more information about that cloth. So if you ask the shopkeeper for the price of that cloth, shopkeeper will look at the tag attached to that cloth and tell you whether it costs 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees and so on. Similarly, if you ask the shopkeeper to tell you the size of that cloth, the shopkeeper will look at the tag attached to that cloth and tell you whether it is XL size or double XL size or triple XL size, right? So tags help give more information about that item. Similarly, here you can assign tags to your resource. So let's suppose I create multiple OpenAI resources. One resource I'm creating for Accenture client, one resource I'm creating for Cognizant client, and so on. I want to remember which resource I created for which client. So here I can assign a tag saying that this resource I created for some client. So over here I'll say I created for a college. Then maybe I'm conducting multiple lectures for colleges. How would I know this resource I created for which lectures? I will say that this resource I created for a lecture that I took on 30 August 2025. Like that, you can assign multiple tags to your resources. In order to assign tags, you need to insert tag name and tag value. You can assign any tag name and any tag value of your choice. By the way, it's not mandatory to do that. If you don't want to assign tags, you are free to leave it. Now let me click on next button. Here, a final validation will be run in the backend just to check whether it can give me the things that I'm asking for. If the final validation is successful, then the create button will get enabled, and you will see within a few seconds, the create button which is displayed below should get enabled. Okay, within a few seconds. If the validation is successful, then the create button will get enabled. It's taking some time over here. I wonder why. We'll have to wait. Or else what I'll do is I'll just refresh the page and submit the form again if it's taking too much time. Okay, it's taking too much time. So instead of waiting, what I will do is I will go ahead, refresh the entire page and submit the form again. Okay, let me submit it again. Due to network issue from my end, it was taking time, but not a worry. I'll go ahead and submit the form again. Okay, let me submit it again over here. I'll give my resource a name. I'll call it test resource. Okay, the rest of the fields I've already explained, so I'll just proceed ahead. Let's see. And as I mentioned on the last page, a final validation will be run in the backend just to check whether it can give me the things that I'm asking for. If the validation is successful, then the create button will get enabled. And soon we should see the create button being enabled. If not, I guess that would be a network issue from my end. Okay, so maybe I will have to change my Wi-Fi and try again. Let me see if I'm able to access the resource or not. Again, too much time. So let me see if I can connect to a different Wi-Fi network. I'm already connected to 5G. Okay, let me connect to a different Wi-Fi network. This is not an issue from Azure side. This might be an issue from my network side. Let me try a different Wi-Fi network. I have connected to a different Wi-Fi network. Now let me try to create a resource. Again, let's see if it's a issue from Azure's end or from my end. Okay. Usually these type of issues are issue from user end. Okay. Currently the user is me. So I believe the issue might be from my end. Maybe my network is not that strong. My internet is not that strong. Let me try one more time. Again, if it takes time, what I might have to do is I might have to, reopen the portal again. But fine, now it works with a different Wi-Fi network. Now the validation is done fast. Okay. So here the validation was successful. So now Azure is saying, fine, the stuff that you asked for, we can provide it to you. Okay. So now let me click on this create button. With this, a resource of OpenAI service will get created for us. What will happen? A resource of OpenAI service will get created. Once the resource is created, then we can go ahead and use the resource to interact with the GenAI models like GPT 3.5, GPT-4, GPT-4o, GPT-5, and so on. How to use those models, how to do prompt engineering in it, all of that we'll learn. Okay, don't worry. So over here, I'm just waiting for my OpenAI resource to get created. It should get created within a minute. Let's wait till then. And once our resource is created, using the resource, we'll try to interact with the GenAI models like GPT 3.5, GPT-4, GPT-4o, GPT-5, and so on. Fine. So let's wait for our resource to get created. Okay. And our resource has been created. Let me go to the resource. And now using the resource, you can interact with the GenAI models. There are two ways to interact with the GenAI models. One is using the without code approach. One is using the without code approach. Second is using the with code approach. You can use any of the approaches over here. First, let me explain the without code approach. So in order to interact with the models without code, you have to click on this button called Explore AI Foundry Portal. Okay, let me click on this button. Here I'll be redirected to a new portal. And through that portal, I'll be able to interact with the GenAI models without writing any single piece of code. First, let me explain the menu options of this portal. The first option in the menu is called Home. Here you will be able to see various shortcuts that will help you for your task. Apart from those shortcuts, you can also see certain documentation links that can help you to perform those tasks. The next option in the menu is called Model Catalog. Here I'm able to see all the models available for my resource. Okay. Depending upon the reason that I chose for my resource, I will have access to different OpenAI models. And here you can see a list of all the models available for your resource, which you can use. What we will be doing is in today's lecture, we'll only be working with text-based models. Text-based models are those models that take text as input and give text as output. Okay. Officially, those models are called chat completion models. What are they called? Chat completion models. Okay. In simple words, you can think of them as text-based models. Text-based models are those models that take text as input and give text as output. But there are different type of models available over here. Okay. You have video based models available. You have audio based models available. You have image based models available, and so on. Okay. But what I will be doing is I'll be working with text based models, which are officially called chat completion models. Now, before I interact with any chat completion model, we first have to deploy that model. Okay. Remember, guys, before you use any model in Azure OpenAI, you first have to deploy that model. Let's deploy it. Okay. So I'll try to deploy a model. Let's try to deploy a popular model like GPT-4. Okay. I'm sure you might have used ChatGPT tool. In ChatGPT tool, up till few months back, GPT-4 model was the default model being used. Okay, so let me try to deploy that model, but you can deploy any model of your choice. You are free to do that. Fine. Let me deploy the model. And here I'll give my deployment a name. I'll call it first deployment. You can give it any name of your choice, doesn't matter. Let me deploy the model. In a few seconds, the model will be deployed. And once the model is deployed, we'll be able to use our deployed model. Okay, let's do it. So for example, let's suppose I want to interact with the model or chat with the model. You can do that from this chat section. Okay. So for example, over here, I can ask the model a question like, what is the full form of GPT? And over here, it will go ahead and give me the answer. So based on my input, it will give me certain output. But let's suppose I want to do certain customizations. What customization I want? Let's suppose I want the model to do sentiment analysis. So based on my input, the model should tell me whether the sentiment of my input was positive, or whether the sentiment was negative, or whether the sentiment was neutral. Okay. So I want the model to do sentiment analysis. So for example, if I pass an input like this, I will say that this hotel has very untidy rooms. So over here, the input that I have passed has a negative sentiment, right? So I want the model to tell me that. I want the model to do sentiment analysis and tell me that the sentiment of this input is negative. But by default, it will not do that. Okay, by default, it doesn't understand that I wanted to do sentiment analysis. So guys, whatever direction you want to give to the model, you need to give that direction through this field called system message field. What is this called? This is called system message field. Okay. Through this field, you can go and give a general direction to the model. So for example, if you want to tell the model that do sentiment analysis or do any other task, whatever task you want the model to do, you can give that direction through this system message field. Let me do that. So over here, I'll give a general direction to the model that the model is supposed to give the sentiment of user's input. Okay. So depending upon the user input, whether the input of the user was positive, negative, or neutral, the model should give me the answer, right? Whether the sentiment was positive, negative, or neutral. Fine. Let me save the changes. And now when I will pass an input to my model, you will see that it will do sentiment analysis, and it will tell me whether the sentiment of my input was positive, negative, or neutral. Here it says that the sentiment of my input was negative. But let's suppose I want to do more customization. Let's suppose I'm part of Zomato's engineering team. Okay. Let's assume that I'm part of Zomato's engineering team. And now Zomato is deciding to change their recommendation algorithm. They want that restaurants having a higher score should be shown at the top of the recommendation, whereas restaurants having a lower score should be shown at the bottom of the recommendation. So guys, how will Zomato do that? How will they calculate the score for the restaurant? Any suggestions? How would Zomato, if you were part of Zomato's team, what would you do to calculate score for a restaurant? What would you do? Please mention your answers in the chat. Any suggestions? If you are part of Zomato's team, and if Zomato is now asking you to change the recommendation algorithm, wherein they want good restaurants should to be shown at the top of the recommendation list, bad restaurants to be shown at the bottom of the recommendation list, right? So Uday has given a very correct answer over here, right? So Uday says that users can leave ratings. Using ratings, we can go ahead and calculate score, right? They can give 1 out of 5 rating, or 3 out of 5 rating, or 4 out of 5 rating using ratings. Apart from ratings, they can also leave reviews. And I guess Uday mentioned that we users can also leave reviews, text reviews, right? Wherein they can specify, they can give feedback saying whether the food was good, bad, whatever text review they want to leave. So see, using ratings, it's very easy to calculate score. Just take the average ratings and that's how you can end up with the score, overall score for the restaurant. But what Zomato is now thinking that apart from ratings, let's include reviews as well to calculate score. So they will consider text reviews as well to calculate score. So what they want is if they come across a positive text review, they want to assign a score of +1 to the restaurant. If they come across a negative text review, then they want to assign a score of -1 to the restaurant. And if they come across a neutral text review, they want to assign a score of 0 to the restaurant. At the end, they will take a sum of all these scores. That's how they will arrive at overall score for that restaurant. Okay. Now, what do I want? For positive review, assign a score of +1. For negative review, assign a score of -1. For neutral review, assign a score of 0. Now, how to communicate to this to the model? You would say that Smith, through system message field, we can go ahead and communicate this to the model. Yes, you are right. We can do that. But sometimes we might feel that we might not be able to communicate the full story just through words. Okay. Just like, for example, if I'm training you guys, and if I feel that just through words, I'll not be able to communicate the full story, in that scenario, what do? I would provide examples to you, right? Similarly, if you are trying to communicate something to the model, and if you feel that just through words, you will not be able to communicate the full story, in that scenario, it's better to give examples to the model, right? So here, let's go ahead and let's give examples. Okay. By the way, whatever communication you want to do, you can communicate that through words in system message field. But if you feel that through words you will not be able to communicate the full story, then in that scenario you can give examples. Let's try to give examples to the model over here. So here there's an option to add examples. I'll try to add it. Now, when I try to add examples, two additional fields pop up. One is the user message field, other is the assistant message field. Remember, user message field will act as input for your example, whereas assistant message field will act as output for your example. Okay. So over here, I'll provide an example and I will tell my model that if in case the user passes an input saying that this product is good, so this is a positive review. In case of positive review, I want to assign a score of +1 to the restaurant. Then I will give another example. I will tell my model that if in case the user passes a negative review, in case of negative review, I want a score of -1 to the restaurant. Then I'll pass another example to the model. I will say that if in case the user passes a neutral review is a review wherein good stuff is also mentioned and bad stuff is also mentioned. Okay. So over here, if in case the user passes a neutral review, I want to assign a score of 0 to the restaurant. Here guys, I've tried to add three examples, right? At the top is example number 1. Below that, I tried to add example number 2. Even below that was example number 3. It's not necessary that always with three examples, your model will understand what you want to achieve. So the best approach is start with fewer number of examples. See with fewer number of examples, is the model working as per your expectation? If it is working as per your expectation, well and good. If it's not working in that scenario, then provide more examples to the model. Okay. But here I've tried to add three examples. Let me apply these changes. And now let's see whether the model is working as per my expectation. So if in case I pass an input having a negative sentiment, the model should give me a score of -1, right? And you can see it does that. Whereas if I pass input having a positive sentiment, it should give me a score of +1. Let's see whether it gives me a score of +1. Yes, it does. Similarly, if I pass a input having a neutral sentiment, let's suppose I will say that this hotel has very untidy rooms. So this is a negative thing, right? But I'll mention a positive thing as well. I will say that, however, the food was delicious. Okay, so here in this input, I have some negative point also mentioned, some positive point also mentioned. So there's a neutral review. In case of neutral review, I want the model to assign a score of 0. Let's see if the model does that over here. You can see the model does that. So here guys, just by three examples, I was able to communicate what I want to achieve to the model. It's not necessary that always through three examples, your model will understand what you want to achieve. Depends on your use case that you are implementing. So the best approach is start with fewer number of examples. See with fewer number of examples, is the model working as per your expectation? If it is, well and good. If not, then give more examples to the model. Okay. So guys, here what did I do? Here we tried to engineer the response of the model. We tried to engineer the response of the model based on the input that we are providing. Input is also known as a prompt. Okay. The input that you provide to the model is also known as a prompt. So here we try to engineer the response of the model based on the prompt. This is known as prompt engineering. Okay. This is known as prompt engineering. So here I just explained one aspect of prompt engineering to you. Okay. Prompt engineering is nothing but engineering the response of the model based on your prompt, based on your input. This is known as prompt engineering. Okay, so this is just one aspect of prompt engineering. Guys, was this aspect clear to all? Was this clear to everyone? Up till here, making sense? Let me know. Please give some confirmation. Any doubts? Up till here, clear? Okay, fine. Now let's go ahead and let's understand the different parameters attached to the model. Depending upon the parameter value that you pass to that particular parameter, for in simple words, you can think of a parameter as a setting for the model. Okay. In simple words, think of it as a setting that you are doing in the model. So here there are different settings or different parameters. Let's understand each parameter one by one. The first parameter is called pass messages included. Here you are asking the model that, okay, remember these many messages only in the chat history. Okay. So for example, if I say that remember 10 messages in the chat history, 10 messages would mean 5 latest input messages, 5 latest output messages. Okay. If I say that the model should remember, let's suppose 8 messages in the chat history, 8 messages means 4 latest input messages, 4 latest output messages. Okay, let's see how changing the value of this parameter affects your model's response. So what I will do is I will start with a clean slate and I will show you the working of the first model parameter or the first setting of this model or the first parameter of this model. Okay, which is called pass messages included. Let's suppose I'm asking the model to only remember 2 messages in the chat history. 2 messages would mean one latest output message and one latest input message, right? Now, how will this affect your model's response? Let me show you that. So for example, let's suppose I'm passing an input to the model. I'm saying something like, my name is Smith Shah. So based on my input, the model will give me some output, right? Now let's suppose I'm providing another input to the model. Now I'm asking it, what is the full form of HTTP? So based on my input, the model will provide me some output, right? And you can see it does do that over here. Now remember, I have asked the model to only remember 2 messages. 2 messages means one latest output message and one latest input message. These are the 2 messages that the model will remember in the chat history. Now I have a question for each and every one of you. So guys, among the 2 messages that the model is now remembering in the chat history, is there any mention about my name? Among the messages that the model is now remembering in the chat history, is there any mention about my name? Uday has given the correct answer over here. Even Anjali, Sonal, all of you have given the correct answer that among the messages that the model is now remembering in the chat history, there is no mention about my name. Which is why if I go ahead and ask the model a question like, what is my name? It will not know that. And have a look over here, the model will not know what is my name. Because among the messages that the model now remembers in the chat history, there was no mention about my name. But let me change this. So what I will do is now instead of asking the model to remember only 2 messages, let me ask it to remember 10 messages. 10 messages means 5 latest output messages, 5 latest input messages. Let's see how that will affect your model's response. So for example, now if I pass an input saying my name is Smith Shah, so based on my input, the model will give me some output. Then I'll pass another input asking it what is the full form of HTTP. So based on my input, the model will provide me some output, right? But now guys, remember, I've asked the model to remember 10 messages. 10 messages means 5 latest output messages, 5 latest input messages. So this is the first message that it will remember. About that is the second message. Even about that is the third message. And even about that is the fourth message. So the model has capacity to remember 10, but currently in my chat history, there are only 4. So that's fine. It has capacity to remember 6 more, but that's fine. That capacity is currently unutilized. No issues. So now again, a question to all of you. So now guys, among the messages that the model is now remembering in the chat history, is there a mention about my name? Now, what do you think? What do you think now? Yes, right. As Rushikesh, Dipesh, Sushant, Parth, everybody is saying that among the messages that the model is now remembering in the chat history, there is a mention about my name, right? You can see the model is remembering these messages in the chat history. And among the messages that the model is now remembering in the chat history, there is a mention about my name. Okay, because of which if I go ahead and ask the model a question like what is my name, it will be able to answer that and it will be able to tell me that my name is Mitch, and you can see it does do that. So this is the first parameter that you can do in your GPT model, okay, called pass messages included. Then another parameter or another setting is called max response. Here you can specify how many maximum tokens are you willing to allow in one single response. Okay, I repeat. Here you can specify how many maximum tokens are you willing to allow in one single response. So let's suppose here if I pass a question like what is Java, here I'm asking the model that maximum there should only be around 1600 tokens, not more than that. Okay, so it will make sure that your response is less than or equal to that limit that you have set. Okay. In simple words, you can think of a token as a word or a subword. Okay, what is a token? Here I'm specifying a limit for the number of tokens that I want to allow in one single response. So what is a token? A token can be thought of as a word or subword. So for example, a word like apple could be treated as one single token, but a word like blueberries could be treated as two tokens, wherein blue would be one token and berries would be another token. So it depends on how that GenAI model is made and how it treats a word, whether it treats it as a single token or two tokens or three tokens. It depends upon how that GenAI model was made. Okay. So now let me show you how this parameter will affect your model's response, how this second parameter will affect your model's response. Let's suppose I'm asking the model to have only one token in the response, maximum one token. So what it will do is now while generating a response, it will only give you one token. You can see only one token is generated. If I say only give two tokens in the response, then only two tokens will be generated in the response, maximum two. Okay, here you are specifying a maximum limit. So for example, if I specify a limit of 2000, it's not necessary that in my response there will be 2000 tokens. Here I'm specifying a limit, which is the indication to the model that make sure that the response is less than or equal to this specified limit. Okay. So this is the second setting that you can do in the GPT model. The third setting or the third parameter is called temperature. Then we have top P, which is the fourth parameter. Then we have stop sequence, which is the fifth parameter. Then frequency penalty, which is sixth parameter, and presence penalty, which is seventh parameter. We'll talk about all these parameters in detail. No need to worry. But what I will do is I will talk about temperature after 15 to 20 minutes. Before that, I will cover the other parameters first. Because I believe if you learn other parameters, it will be very easy for you to understand temperature parameter. Okay. So we'll skip temperature parameter for 15 to 20 minutes. We'll see after 15 to 20 minutes. Till that time, let's cover the other parameters over here. So let me talk about top P parameter. Let's see how that affects the model's response. Now I have a question for each and every one of you. Let's suppose if I pass input to the model asking what is Java. Okay, so the model will give me some response, right? And you can see it does give me some response. Let me wait for that entire response. I guess this is the entire response. Okay, perfect. Now let me pass another input to the model. I will again ask it what is Java. Now the question for all of you guys is, will the model give me the same above answer copy pasted, or will it generate a different answer with different choice of tokens? What will it do? Will it use slightly different words or the same words will it use? Slightly different words, right? And over here you are absolutely right, guys. Okay, for my second output, you will see it will use slightly different words. You can see in the first output, it said that Java is a high level class based language, whereas here it says Java is a high level programming language. Okay, so you can see different choice of words were used. How does this happen? It happens because of top P parameter. Okay, so top P parameter encourages usage of varied words. Why is this done? Just so that interacting with the model is not boring. Otherwise, assume a scenario wherein you are passing the same input and again and again, and the model gives you same output again and again. It will be very boring for you to interact with the model. You might think that the model is just copy pasting the answer. Okay. So to avoid that boringness, what these Gen AI models do is they try to always generate different words in different output, just so that the interacting with the model is not boring. And they do that by using this top p parameter. Let's see how it works. Okay. So top p parameter encourages usage of varied words. Without top p parameter, what would happen is every time your answer will be the same. So let's suppose if you ask what is Java today and if you ask what is Java tomorrow, your answer today and your answer tomorrow will be the same word by word if top p parameter was not there. Okay. So let's see without top p parameter what would happen. Remember the Gen AI model generates answer token by token. Okay. So based on your tokens in the input, it decides what will be your tokens in the output. Okay, what will be your tokens in the output or what will be your tokens in the response. So what it does is for every token in the model's dictionary, it tries to generate a probability value. So it might think that, okay, the token the has a probability of 0.9. The token A has a probability of 0.08. The token and has a probability of 0.01 and so on. Like that, it will generate probability of for every token in the model's dictionary in such a way that sum of all the probabilities will be equal to 1. And guys, it does that by using deep learning concepts. So in order to understand how these probability values are generated, you need to know deep learning. Okay, but for now, for the sake of this lecture, assume that using deep learning concepts, these probability values are generated. And what would happen is always the token having the highest probability will get selected in the response. So here guys, which token has the highest probability? Among the tokens displayed over here, which token has the highest probability? The token the has the highest probability, right? As Uday rightly mentions, as Yash rightly mentions, the token the has the highest probability. So that will be chosen in the response. Okay. Then again, if this is the first token, then it will decide what will be the second token in the model's response. So for that, what it will do is again, same thing it will do. For all the token in the model's dictionary, it will try to generate a probability value. Let's suppose probability of token cat is 0.95. Probability of token kitten is 0.04 and so on. Like that, it will try to generate probability for every tokens and the token having the highest probability will be chosen in the model's response. So here the token cat has the highest probability, so it will be chosen in the response. Same thing will be repeated for the third token in the response. Okay. Same thing will then get repeated for the fourth token in the response. Same thing will then get repeated for the fifth token in the response and so on. Let's suppose the model is deciding which will be the sixth token in the response. Now, if it goes like this, what will happen is you will get the same choice of words again and again, right? For example, if you pass a input today, if you pass a input tomorrow, if this process that I have explained to you over here gets repeated, then today's response and tomorrow's response will be the same word by word. It will not vary. Okay. So let's suppose if I ask what is Java today and if I ask what is Java tomorrow, I'll get the same answer today and tomorrow, but I don't want that to happen, which is why the concept of top p parameter was introduced. Okay, which is why the concept of top p parameter was introduced. Let's see how it works. Okay, I'll go ahead and explain to you how it works. Let's see. So remember that top p parameter, what it does is it only considers the top p% most likely next tokens based on their probability distribution. Now, what does it mean? I will help you understand that. Don't worry. Okay, but remember this definition that it considers the top p% most likely next tokens based on the probability distribution. Let's understand this definition in a more detailed manner. Okay, so as you know, let's suppose the model is now deciding what will be the sixth token in the response. So for that, what the model will do, what the Gen AI model will do, for every token in the model's dictionary, it will try to generate a probability value. So let's suppose the probability for a word like, let me think of a word. Let's suppose probability for a word like or for a token like mat is 0.3. Probability for a token like rug is 0.25. Probability for a token like windowsill is 0.15. Then probability for a token like car is something else and so on. Okay. So over here, let's suppose like this probability values are generated. Okay. So over here, I'll just go ahead and mention it. Let me mention it over here. Okay, like this probability values will be generated for every token in the model's response. Now, let's go ahead. And now a question to each and every one of you. So guys, remember how top P works. It only considers the top P percent most likely next tokens based on their probability distribution. So guys, if I take the cumulative probability of the top 5 tokens in the probability distribution, what is the sum of all these probability values? What is the sum? If you sum all these probability values, what will it be equal to? Can anyone give me the answer? 0.3 plus 0.25 is 0.55. 0.55 plus 0.15 is 0.7. 0.7 plus 0.1 is 0.8 and 0.8 plus 0.05 is 0.85, right? So Yash, as rightly mentioned, that the sum is equal to 0.85. Other students are correct in the sense that the overall probability of all the words will be equal to will sum up to 1. But if I take cumulative probability of top 5 tokens, not all tokens, here if I take cumulative probability of top 5 tokens, it is coming out to be 0.85. What I need to see is this less than the top p value that we have set? Let's suppose I have set a top p value. Okay, let me set a top p value over here. Let's suppose I'm setting a top p value of 0.6. Let's assume. So I need to check here that the cumulative probability of the top 5 tokens, is it less than the top p value that we have set? No, which is why we can't consider the top 5 tokens. Instead, let me consider top 4 tokens. What is the cumulative probability of top 4 tokens? It is around 0.8. Is it less than the top p value that we have set? No. So we can't consider top 4 tokens. Instead, let me consider top 3 tokens. What is the cumulative probability of top 3 tokens in the probability distribution? 0.7. Is it less than the top p value that we have set? No. So I can't consider the top 3 tokens. Instead, let me consider top 2 tokens. What is the cumulative probability of top 2 tokens? 0.55. Is it less than the top p value that we have set? Yes. Which is why we will consider the top 2 tokens. And what are the top 2 tokens? They are mat and rug. So here we'll just mention that the shortlisted tokens are mat and rug. Shortlisted tokens are mat and rug. Okay. So top P helps you to shortlist the tokens. Guys, once the tokens are shortlisted, then the computer can select any one out of the shortlisted tokens randomly. Maybe in one response, it can randomly choose the token mat to appear in the response. Maybe in the next response, it can randomly choose the token rug to appear in the response. So what top P does is top P helps you to shortlist the tokens. And once the tokens are shortlisted, then the system chooses any one out of the shortlisted tokens randomly. That is how it tries to include variety of words in the response. Maybe in one response, it can choose the token mat. Maybe in another response, it can choose the token rug. That's how top P parameter tries to include variety in the response. That's how it tries to include variety of tokens in the response. Okay. So guys, how top P parameter tries to introduce variety in the response, was it clear? Is the working of top P clear? Now, if you have a doubt that what value to set for top P, that you will have to figure out through trial and error depending upon your use case. Setting a very low value of top P will also not be beneficial. Setting a very high value will also not be beneficial. So choose a value somewhere in the middle. Okay, and the best value you'll have to figure out using trial and error, that depending on your use case, which value is working. So start with 0.5, see if your model is working as per expectation. If not, change it to maybe 0.55. Like that, try different values and see. Okay. Again, choosing a lower, very low top P value is not beneficial. Choosing a very high top P value is also not beneficial. Okay, so you have to choose a value somewhere in the middle. And that applies to all the parameters, guys. Okay, in order to choose the best value of these parameters or to choose best value of these settings, best approach is trial and error approach. Okay, Deepak says it's clear. Okay, perfect. Now, the next setting or the next parameter is called stop sequence. Let's suppose what I want to do is I want the model to give me response in one sentence only. Okay. Now, how to do that? You will say that Smith, in the message itself, you can say that you want the output for Java, but while giving you the output, give output in single sentence. But have a look, guys, based on every text that I write, based on every token that I write, you can see the token remembering capacity is being used. Okay, so every model has a different capacity. So this model called GPT-4 has a capacity to remember 1,28,000 tokens in a single context. Okay, 1,28,000 tokens. So you can see here I've passed three tokens. So you can see three tokens are being utilized. If I pass one more token, it will say four tokens. Then if I say give a response in single sentence, again, few more tokens will be utilized. Fine, I can do that. Your response will be given to me in single sentence. But the disadvantage is I'm utilizing this token capacity, okay, which I don't want to, okay, because this is very precious to me, and I want that if at all a model is remembering a token, okay, it should be used for a good purpose. So over here, I'm thinking, is there a way I can ask the model to give response in single sentence, but I don't utilize any of the token capacity? Yes, what you can do is you can take help of stop sequence. Remember, guys, the text that you pass in your system message, the text that you pass in your examples, even those, even that tokens that you pass over here will be consumed in the token remembering capacity. Okay. So whatever tokens you pass in system message or user message or assistant message, those tokens will contribute to this value that you see. Okay. So I don't want to mention any text over here to the model saying that give me response in single sentence. Is there a way? You would say maybe use max response parameter, but how will I know that in one sentence whether I'm getting four tokens or five tokens? I won't know that. So what if I want to restrict the response of the model in one sentence? Now, what is a characteristic? How will I know that a sentence is ended? If I can see a full stop, that's an indication that the sentence is ended, right? So here what I'll do is I'll pass a sequence of tokens saying full stop. Okay, which is one token only, but you can pass multiple sequence of tokens as well. So here I'm passing full stop. What does full stop mean? This is an indication to the model that if at all in the response it sees this symbol full stop, that's it, the response should end and no further token should get generated. So with stop sequence parameter, you can specify a predefined sequence of tokens, which will tell the model when to stop generating further text. Okay. Like this, you can say that pass a sequence of tokens saying T full stop. T full stop means that, okay, before full stop, if the token T, if the alphabet T is appearing, then only stop generating further text. But if any other alphabet is appearing before full stop, then don't stop. Then you can generate as you normally do. Okay, like that, you can pass a predefined sequence of tokens, which will tell the model when to stop generating further text. I will show you a demo of that today. Don't worry. Okay. Then we have frequency penalty parameter. Okay. So we have these penalty based parameters like frequency penalty, presence penalty. First, let me explain the overview. Then I will show you in-depth working as well. So how do these penalty based parameters work? Let's understand. So guys, let's suppose you give me a task saying that Smith describe the top three footballers. Okay. So maybe I will say that, okay, Ronaldo is great. Okay. Then I will say Messi is great. Okay. Then for the third footballer, whichever could be the name, whether it's any name I can pass over here, I will say that XYZ person is also great. But what task you had given me? Describe the top three footballers. And you can see for all the footballers, I'm using the same token great again and again. And this looks very boring, right? You would say that, Smith, fine, for describing these footballers, maybe if you would have chosen slightly different tokens, it would have been better. For example, for Ronaldo, you would have you should have used the token like excellent. For Messi, you should have used the token like magician and so on, like something like that. So otherwise, see, looking at this response becomes very boring for you, right? So what we want to ensure is that if in my response a token is appearing in first sentence, we should try to avoid it in the next sentence. Okay, maybe a different synonym of that token should be used. Same token. I will just go ahead and mute the other students just so that you don't hear any background noise. Okay, fine. Coming back to our answer, guys. So as I mentioned, you would not want that in a response the same token is being used again and again, right? That way it will feel very boring for you to look at your response. So to avoid that, to avoid choosing of same token again and again in the response, that the same token is used in first sentence also, same is used in second sentence also, same is used in third sentence also, that the same sentence is, so the same, to avoid usage of same token repeatedly in the one single response, we will use these penalty based parameters. What these penalty based parameters do is they penalize the tokens if that token is appearing too many times in the response. Okay, so that going further, that token will not appear in the response. Let's see how that penalization is done. But before that, over here, one student has a doubt. Let me answer that doubt. Uday says, how do we make sure whether mat or rug will appear? How to predict? Uday, we don't have that control with us. Okay, here I just gave an example to you. Uday, the idea is that with top P, you shortlist the tokens. That instead of the model selecting only the top token in the response. Without top P, what would happen, Uday? Always the token having the highest probability would get selected in the response, right? So for example, if top P parameter was not introduced, always the token mat would appear in the response. So even it would appear in the response today also, it would appear in the response tomorrow also, and so on. So let's suppose I'm passing same input again and again. If I pass an input like what is Java today, if I pass an input what is Java tomorrow, then today's response and tomorrow's response will be the same word by word, which I don't want. Okay. So to avoid that top P parameter was introduced. If top P parameter was not there, then what would happen is always the token having the highest probability would get selected in the response. So instead of that, what top P parameter does is it shortlists some tokens for you. And once the tokens are shortlisted, then any one out of the shortlisted tokens could get selected in the response. Maybe in one response, the token mat could get selected. Maybe in another response, the token rug could get selected. So here I use the example mat and rug just for explanation, just to tell you that top P parameter encourages choice of varied words. Without top P, what would happen? Always the token having the highest probability would get selected in the response. Okay. So to encourage choice of varied words, top P parameter was introduced, buddy. Okay. Did you get the idea? Here, this was just the example that I used. Understood? Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and let's see the penalty based parameters. As I mentioned, the penalty based parameters help to penalize the tokens just so that that particular token should not appear ahead in the response. So if a token is appearing too many times, we would penalize that token. And how does that work? Let's see. So what frequency penalty does is it penalizes the tokens based on their frequency. That means if a token is appearing one time only, then it will apply less penalty to it. If a token is appearing 2 times, then more penalty. If a token is appearing 5 times, then even more penalty, and so on. Okay. So based on the frequency, based on how many times a token is appearing in the response, it will apply that much severe penalty. Whereas presence penalty doesn't do that. Presence penalty doesn't penalize based on the frequency. Instead, presence penalty parameter penalizes the tokens based on their presence. So in presence penalty, it will just check that whether a token is present or not. That means it will just check whether a token is appearing at least one time or not. Then it doesn't check how many times more than once. Okay, it doesn't check how many times more than once. Here it just checks whether the token is appearing at least once or not. So it doesn't care how many times more than once, whether 2 times, 5 times, 10 times, 20 times. Regardless of that, it will apply same severe penalty to it. Okay. So this is the overview of these penalty based parameters. Let me show you the in-depth working. Okay. So as I mentioned, frequency penalty parameter penalizes the tokens based on the frequency. That means based on how many times that token has appeared in the response so far. If a token has appeared one time, then less penalty it will apply. If a token has appeared two times, then more penalty. If a token has appeared five times, then even more penalty. That's how frequency penalty parameter work. But presence penalty doesn't do that. Presence penalty penalizes the tokens based on their presence. That means it will just check whether the token is at least present one time or not. It doesn't check how many times more than once. So with presence penalty, even if a token is appearing 2 times or 20 times, uh, same severe penalty it will apply to those tokens. So this was just the overview. Let me show you the in-depth working of these parameters. Okay, let's start with frequency penalty. Remember guys that frequency penalty parameter works based on a certain formula. Okay, it works based on a certain formula. So let me show you that. What is the formula that frequency penalty parameter uses? So I'll just give a heading at the top saying frequency penalty. Okay. Now let me go ahead and let me show you how it would work. Remember, it works based on a certain formula. Let me show you that. Okay, which formula it uses. So the formula is new probability of token equal to previous probability of token multiplied by frequency penalty value that we set. Okay, I'll show you the full formula. Remember here, what is the formula? New probability of token equal to previous probability of token into 1 minus frequency penalty value that we set. Okay, frequency penalty value that we set into frequency of the token in the response so far. Let me explain each term in this formula. Your P of T stands for original probability of the token. P of T stands for original probability of the token. Then FP stands for frequency penalty value that we set. Okay, FP stands for frequency penalty value that we set. And F of T stands for frequency of the token in the response so far. Okay, whether a token is appearing 2 times or 5 times or 10 times. So let's suppose a response is being generated by the model. And up till now in the response, 3 tokens have been generated. Okay, let's suppose first was token A, then was token B, then was token A. And now the model is deciding which token to have at the fourth position of the response. We know how it works, right? The GenAI model tries to generate probability for every token in its dictionary. So probability of token A appearing at fourth position in the sentence is, let's assume 0.4. Then let's assume that probability of token B appearing at fourth position in the sentence is 0.35. Then let's assume that probability of token C appearing at fourth position in the sentence is 0.25, right? Now, let's see how frequency penalty parameter will be applied. And just so that you don't hear any background noise, I will mute the other students. Okay, fine. And now let's proceed. Now let me show you how frequency penalty parameter works. So here we use this formula that I have mentioned on the left hand side. New probability of token. Let's deal with token A first. So new probability of token A equal to previous probability of token A into 1 minus frequency penalty value that we set. Let's suppose we are setting a frequency penalty value of 0.5. Let's assume. Okay. So we have set a frequency penalty value of 0.5 into frequency of token A in the response so far. Up till now in the response, token A has appeared 2 times. So frequency of token A in the response so far is equal to 2. If I solve this equation, I might get an answer somewhere around 0.28. Similarly, guys, new probability of token B is equal to previous probability of token B multiplied by 1 minus frequency penalty value that we set into frequency of token B in the response so far. Up till now in the response, token B has appeared 1 time. So frequency of token B in the response so far is 1. I'll solve this equation and I might get an answer somewhere around 0.245. Similarly, probability of new probability of token C is equal to previous probability of token C multiplied by 1 minus frequency penalty value into frequency of token C in the response so far. Up till now in the response, token C has not appeared at all. You can see in the response, token C is nowhere to be seen, right? Which is why frequency of token C in the response so far is equal to 0. If I solve this equation, I might get an answer somewhere around 0.25. So if you observe, you will be able to see that since token C had not appeared in the response, that's why its new probability is kept the same as previous probability. Whereas token A and B had appeared in the response, that's why their new probabilities are reduced as compared to their previous probabilities. Okay, you can see token A was appearing many times. That's why its new probability is reduced by a good extent. Okay, by the way, sorry, this is the formula for presence penalty. I just now realized this was a formula for presence penalty, not frequency penalty, guys. Okay, my mistake. Just by looking at the formula, I realized. No worries. I'll just replace this. This is presence penalty. Okay, presence penalty, not frequency penalty. Presence penalty. So I should just change this. Okay. In fact, let me start off. I will show you this formula of presence penalty again. I should show formula for frequency penalty. My mistake. I showed you the other formula. Okay, just by looking at the formula right now, I realized. No worries, but we'll see the formula of frequency penalty over here. Let's see what is the formula. So the formula is new probability of token equal to previous probability of token divided by, okay, and now you will see that how the formula for frequency penalty is different. So new probability of token equal to previous probability of token divided by 1 plus frequency penalty value into frequency of the token in the response so far. Or I should say not 1 plus, if I remember correctly, new probability of token equal to my previous probability of the token, which I'll refer using P of t. Okay, divided by, and if I recall correctly, I'm just trying to do my calculation. If I recall correctly, the new probability will be previous probability upon, I guess 1 plus, correct. For 1 plus is the right answer. 1 plus frequency penalty value into frequency of that token in the response so far. Okay, this is the right formula. Okay, for presence penalty, we use minus sign. I will show you that. Don't worry. So let's start with frequency penalty from scratch. Okay, here I will explain each term in this formula. Here remember, P of t stands for original probability of the token. Okay, this is the correct formula. You can note it down for your reference. Usually you don't see these formulas in blogs online. For your reference, you can write this. Okay, that is the formula for frequency penalty. So new probability of token equal to previous probability of token divided by 1 plus frequency penalty value into frequency of that token in the response so far. Where P of t stands for original probability of the token, FP stands for frequency penalty value that we set. Okay, and FP stands for frequency of the token in the response so far. Okay, FT, sorry, you should say FT stands for frequency of the token in the response so far. Okay, fine. Now let me show you how frequency penalty parameter would work. Okay, so I will show you that. So over here, remember, let's suppose a response is being generated by the model, and up till now 3 tokens have already been generated. Let's suppose first was token A, next was token B, third was token A. And now the model is deciding which token to have at the fourth position of the response. We know how GenAI model works. For every token in the model's dictionary, the model tries to generate a probability value. So probability of token A appearing at fourth position in the response is 0.4. Probability of token B appearing at fourth position in the response is 0.35. Probability of token C appearing at fourth position in the response is 0.25. Let's see how frequency penalty value will be applied. Okay, so have a look, guys. Here, new probability of token A equal to previous probability of token A divided by 1 plus frequency penalty value that we set. Let's suppose we have set a frequency penalty value of 0.5. Okay, so 0.5 into frequency of that token in the response so far. Currently, I'm dealing with token A. So in my response so far, token A has appeared how many times? 2 times. So frequency of token A in the response so far is 2. If I solve this equation, I might get an answer somewhere around 0.2, right? So I will just go ahead and mention that over here. Fine. Similarly, new probability of token B equal to previous probability of token B divided by 1 plus frequency penalty value into frequency of token B in the response so far. Currently in my response, token B has appeared one time. So frequency of token B in the response so far is 1. Okay. If I solve this equation, I will get an answer. Let me see what answer I will get. I'll use my calculator. 0.4 divided by 1.5. I'll just go ahead and try to solve this. And I will get an answer somewhere around 0.27. Okay. So I'll just mention that over here 0.27. Similarly, new probability of token C is equal to previous probability of token C divided by 1 plus frequency penalty value into frequency of token C in the response so far. Up till now in the response, token C has not appeared at all. That's why frequency of token C in the response so far will be equal to 0. If I solve this equation, I'll get a value somewhere around 0.25. Okay. So here, let's understand over here what has happened. You can see, if you closely observe, you'll be able to see that token C had not appeared in the response at all. That's why its new probability is kept the same as previous probability. Whereas token A and B had appeared in the response. That's why their new probabilities are reduced as compared to their previous probabilities. Okay, token A was appearing many times. That's why you can see its new probability is almost 50% less as compared to its original probability. Right, token A was appearing 2 times, it had appeared many times. That's why more severe penalty was applied. Whereas token B had appeared only one time. That is why less severe penalty is applied. So you can see its probability is reduced, but not by 50%. It is reduced by less percentage. So that is how frequency penalty parameter works. Okay. It penalizes the tokens based on the frequency of the tokens in the response so far. If a token is appearing one time, then less penalty. If a token is appearing 2 times, then more penalty. If a token is appearing 5 times, then even more penalty. So guys, without frequency penalty, what would happen? The token having the highest probability would get chosen in the response. So your token A had the highest probability. So token A would appear. But after applying frequency penalty, now which token has highest probability? Token B has highest probability. So now that token will be selected in the response. Okay. So that's how frequency penalty parameter ensures that if a token is appearing too many times, it will penalize it by reducing its probability, so that going forward, that token should not be chosen again in the response. So this is how frequency penalty parameter works. Guys, any doubt with respect to frequency penalty? Is it making sense, guys? Frequency penalty parameter. One student has doubt with respect to top P. Yes, Parth, I will explain that just in 5 minutes. Before that, I'll just cover the other penalty based parameters. Okay. Then I'll come to your doubt in 5 minutes. Guys, frequency penalty parameter clear? Everyone made sense? If not, let me know. Okay. Clear, guys? Yes. Okay. Fine. Now let's go ahead and let's see presence penalty parameter. Okay, let's see how presence penalty works. So what I will do is I will show you how presence penalty works. Just like frequency penalty works based on a certain formula, even presence penalty works based on a formula. Which formula? Let me show that to you. So here with presence penalty, the formula is new probability of token equal to previous probability of token multiplied by 1 minus presence penalty value into token presence. Here, let me explain each term in this formula. Your P of t stands for original probability of the token. Okay, P of t stands for original probability of the token. Then your PP stands for your presence penalty value that you set. Okay. And T of P stands for your token presence. There are only two values you can assign to this, either a value of 1 or a value of 0. So when to assign a value of 1, when to assign a value of 0, let's understand. So if your token has appeared in the response at least once, in that scenario, you will assign a value of 1. Okay, if it has appeared at least once, then you will assign a value of 1. However, if the token has not appeared at all in the response, not even once, then you will assign a value of 0. Okay, if the token has not appeared at all, in that case, you will assign a value of 0. Okay, so let's suppose a response is being generated by the model, and up till now in the response, 3 tokens have been generated. First was token A, then was token B, then was token A. And now the model is deciding which token to have at the fourth position of this sentence. Okay, so how will this work? Let's see. You know how Gen AI models work, right? For every token in the model's dictionary, it will try to generate a probability value. Let's suppose probability of token A appearing at fourth position in the sentence is 0.4. Probability of token B appearing at fourth position in the sentence is 0.35. Probability of token C appearing at fourth position in the sentence is 0.25. Let's see how presence penalty parameter will be applied. So new probability of token A is equal to previous probability of token A multiplied by 1 minus presence penalty value that we set. Let's suppose I'm setting a presence penalty value equal to 0.3. Let's assume. Okay, I'm setting a presence penalty value equal to 0.3 multiplied by token presence for token A. Up till now in the response, has token A appeared at least once? Yes, it has. That's why token presence for token A will be set to 1. If I solve this equation, I might get a value somewhere around 0.28. Okay. Similarly, new probability of token B equal to previous probability of token B multiplied by 1 minus presence penalty value that we set into token presence for token B. Up till now in the response, has token B appeared at least once? Yes. That's why token presence for token B is set to 1. If I solve this equation, I'll get a value somewhere around 0.245. Similarly, new probability of token C is equal to previous probability of token C multiplied by 1 minus presence penalty value that we set into the token presence for token C. Up till now in the response, has token C appeared at all? No. So token presence for token C will be set to 0. If I solve this equation, I'll get a value of 0.25. If you observe, you will be able to see that since token C had not appeared in the response at least once, that's why its new probability is kept the same as its previous probability. Whereas token A and B had appeared in the response, that's why their new probabilities are reduced as compared to their previous probabilities. So that is how presence penalty parameter works. Okay. Remember that both frequency penalty and presence penalty are like brothers. So it's better to use one out of these two as they are working for the same exact goal. So if you are working in a use case wherein you are expecting your answers to be long, in that scenario, I would suggest that you use frequency penalty parameter. But if you are working in a use case wherein you are expecting an answer to be short, in that case, I would suggest using presence penalty parameter. So it's recommended to use one out of these two penalty based parameters and not both. But if you apply both, it's not like you will get an error. Both penalties will be applied, but it's not suggested to do that. Since both the penalty based parameters are working to achieve same exact goal, it's suggested to use one out of these two. Okay, fine. Now, Parth had a doubt over here. Parth had mentioned that why setting a lower value of top P would not help, why setting a higher value would not help. Let's understand. Okay, so I'll help you understand that. So Parth, let's suppose, buddy, we are setting a very low value of top P. Okay, something like 0.1. Okay, so Parth, let's again repeat the process, buddy. So if I take the cumulative probability of top 5 tokens in the probability distribution, it is 0.85, I believe. Is it less than the top P value that we have set? No. So I can't consider top 5 tokens. Instead, let's consider top 3 tokens. What is the cumulative probability of top 3 tokens? 0.75, I believe. Right? Oh, sorry. What is it? 0.8, sorry, 0.8, my mistake. Is it less than the top P value that we have set? No. So I can't consider the top 4 tokens. Instead, let me consider top 3 tokens. The cumulative probability of top 3 tokens is 0.75. Is it less than the top P value that we have set? No. So we can't consider the top 3 tokens. Instead, let's consider the top two tokens. Cumulative probability of top two tokens is 0.55. Is it less than the top p value that we have set? No, so we can't consider the top two tokens. Instead, let's consider the top one token. The cumulative probability of top one token is 0.3. Is it less than the top p value that we have set? No, so we can't consider top one token also. So can I say over here, guys, no tokens are shortlisted? Correct or no? If I set a very low value of top P, can I say no tokens are shortlisted? Agreed? Yes. And if no tokens are shortlisted, the model will go to its default behavior, which is to choose a token having highest probability. So in that case, top P has no contribution whatsoever. Okay, because your top P's goal was to shortlist tokens, but it was not able to shortlist tokens because the top P value that I have set was very low. And because it was very low, it did not shortlist any tokens. And because it did not shortlist any tokens, model went to its default behavior, which is to choose the token having the highest probability. And that token would then be chosen in the response. So if you set a very low value of top P, that will not help you, because then setting a very low value of top P would result in no tokens being shortlisted. And if no tokens are shortlisted, top P has no influence on the model's response whatsoever. Okay. So understanding Parth, how setting a very low value of top P would not help. Getting it, buddy? Clear? I hope it's clear, Parth. If you have any doubts, you can let me know. Clear? Okay. Okay. Similarly, setting a very high value of top P would also not help, because in that case, let's suppose I'm setting a very high value of top P, something like 0.9. Okay, let's see. Let's now repeat the process again. Let's take cumulative probability of top five tokens is 0.85. Is it less than the top p value that we have set? Yes. So we will consider top five tokens. So we have shortlisted five tokens now. Okay, first was token mat, second was token rug, third was token windowsill, fourth was token car, fifth was token metal. So all these tokens will be shortlisted. And in that scenario, once the tokens are shortlisted, guys, the system chooses any one token randomly to appear in the response, right? Maybe in one response, it can choose the token mat. Maybe in another response, it can choose the token metal. Okay. And with that, what is happening is now even a token which had very less probability of appearing in the response, even that you are selecting. There was a reason why less probability value was assigned to that token. Okay, because that token was not supposed to be selected. That is why there was a reason where which is why very low probability value was chosen, was applied to it. But now if you set a very high value of top P, even that token will get shortlisted. And once a token is shortlisted, then the system can choose any one out of the shortlisted tokens randomly. The shortlisted tokens then have equal chance of appearing in the response. So again, setting a low value of top P would also be counterproductive for you. Okay, so setting at a very high value of top P will not help. Setting a low value of top P will not help. So that's why we choose a value somewhere in the middle. That applies to all the penalty based parameters, guys. Now one more parameter is left, guys. Temperature. Okay, I mentioned that I will explain temperature at the end. Now it's time to cover temperature. Let me show you how that temperature parameter works. Okay, so I will show you that how temperature parameter works over here. So let me explain that to you. The working of temperature parameter. Before that, guys, remember that before you generate probability value for every token, we get something called raw scores. Okay. You get raw scores for every token. Those raw scores are then converted to probability. Okay. And how do you get those raw scores? For that, you need to know deep learning concepts. We won't dive into those deep learning concepts in this lecture. But for now, just remember that based on some deep learning concepts, you get raw scores for every token. Those raw scores are then converted to probability value. So let me show you how that happens. Okay, so I'm just waiting for my whiteboard to launch. Let me connect to a different Wi-Fi network. Okay, I've connected to a different Wi-Fi network. Let's see if that helps. Hopefully my whiteboard should launch faster. Let's see. It's still loading. Okay, let's wait. I'll wait for half a minute. If it still keeps on loading, maybe I'll choose a different tool for annotations. Okay, fine, it has launched, so not to worry. So now let me explain the working of temperature parameter. Okay, let's see how it works. So remember, before you get probability value for a token, you get something called raw scores for every token. Those raw scores are called logits. Okay, those raw scores are called logits. So a logit value is nothing but raw score that is generated for that particular token. So using these raw scores, how we convert it to probability? Let's see. So without temperature, how would probability be calculated? With temperature, how would probability be calculated? Let's see. So guys, without temperature, you have this formula. Let me show you that formula. Probability equal to exponent of logit of that token divided by summation of exponent of logit of all the tokens. Okay, exponent of logit of all the tokens. Let me show you how this works. Okay, so without temperature, how probability is calculated. With temperature, how probability is calculated. We'll see. Let's suppose I'm dealing with three tokens: token cat, token dog, token bird. And let's suppose for these tokens, I've obtained raw scores, which is also known as logit value. So let's suppose logit value for token cat is 2. Then let's assume that logit value for token dog is equal to 1. Then let's assume that logit value for token bird is equal to 0.1. Now let's see how using logit values we convert it to probability. The probability formula is exponent of logit of token divided by summation of exponent of logit of all the tokens. Let's calculate exponent of these token values. Okay, so exponent of logit of token cat. Logit of token cat is 2. So what is exponent of 2? Let's see. Exponent of 2, I believe it will be somewhere around 7.39. Still, let me validate it using exponent calculator. So exponent of 2, let's see what will it be. So your exponent of 2 is somewhere around 7.39, I believe. Yes, it's around 7.39. So I'll just mention that exponent of logit of token cat is 7.39. Then exponent of logit of token dog. Logit of token dog is 1. What is exponent of 1? Let's see. I believe exponent of 1 would be somewhere around 2.72. Still, let me validate. I might be wrong. What is exponent of 1? Yes, around 2.72. So I'll just mention that over here. Similarly, exponent of logit of token bird. Okay. So over here, logit of token bird is 0.1. What is exponent of that? Let me see. So exponent of 0.1 is 1.11. Okay, so I'll just mention that over here. Then I'll take sum of all of these exponent values. Let's suppose sum is equal to 11.22. Now let's see how probability values are calculated. So probability of token cat is equal to exponent of logit of token cat divided by summation of exponent of logit of all the tokens. And if I solve this equation, I'll get a value somewhere around 0.66. Okay. Then probability of token bird. Sorry, probability of token dog. Dog is my second token, right? So probability of token dog equal to exponent of logit of token dog divided by summation of exponent of logit of all the tokens. And if I sum this, if I solve this, I'll get a value somewhere around 0.24. Similarly, probability of the token bird, which is equal to exponent of logit of token bird divided by summation of exponent of logit of all the tokens. And if I solve this, I will get a value somewhere around 0.10, somewhere around that. Okay. And this is how we get probability values. If you sum them, you will see you will get a sum equal to 1. That's why I mentioned that sum of all the probabilities generated will be equal to 1. So this is how probability is calculated without temperature. Okay. But now let's see with temperature how it's done. Okay. And how will that affect your model's response? That also we'll see. So with temperature, your probability value will be P equal to exponent of logit of token divided by temperature value, the whole divided by summation of exponent of logit of all the tokens divided by temperature value. Okay. Now, how will this temperature parameter help? Let's understand. So guys, let's suppose we are working with tokens and you want to penalize those tokens. Okay. If that token is appearing too many times. Okay. So let's suppose you are working with tokens. Let me consider an example. Let's suppose token A and token B. Probability of token A was 0. Let's suppose 0.8. Okay, or let's suppose 0.6. Probability of token B is, let's suppose, 0.3. Okay, and you want to penalize a token that was appearing too many times. Let's suppose token A was appearing too many times. So you want to penalize that token. So let's suppose after penalization, after applying those penalization, after applying penalty, your new probability values are for token A, let's suppose 0.4. For token B, token B was not appearing at all, let's suppose. So token B's probability will be kept the same. But now, even now, you can see what is happening is still token A has the highest probability. So that will be chosen in the response, right? So the problem is that sometimes the difference between probability values is so big that even after applying penalty, there is no effect on the end result. Okay. Earlier also, before applying penalty, token A had the highest probability, so it will be chosen in the response. After applying penalty also, now also token A has the highest probability, so it will be chosen in the response. So to solve this problem, temperature parameter was introduced. The idea is that with a higher temperature value, you will have more variety of tokens. How? Let's see. Okay, higher temperature value gives more variety. Lower temperature, low variety. Remember that. How? Let's see. Let's suppose if my temperature value is big, then this entire term will become small, right? Because if temperature is in denominator, this entire equation will be giving me a small value. And exponent of small value will give me a small result only, right? Exponent of a small value will be small only. And if that exponent is a small value, then the probability that we calculate will also be small. So the idea is that high temperature value gives lower probability. Okay. So let's see what will happen. Higher temperature value gives lower probability. Let's suppose this were the probabilities for your tokens. Okay. These were the probabilities for your tokens. Now what will happen is after temperature, it will reduce the probability for all tokens. Okay, not just the tokens that are appearing many times, but all. It will flatten the differences between probability. How? Let's see. So let's suppose after applying temperature, what happened was, let's suppose probability of all the tokens was almost reduced by 50%. Okay, setting a higher temperature value lowers the probability. So here, let's suppose now probability for token A is 0.3. Probability of token B is 0.15. So earlier, guys, what was the difference? The difference between the two tokens was in terms of probability, it was 0.3. But now have a look at the difference. Now the difference is only 0.15. So idea is temperature value flattens out the difference. And once the difference is flattened out, now when you apply penalty, okay, maybe it will have a better effect on the end result. So what temperature does, it flattens out the differences between the tokens so that after applying penalty, now a token that was appearing too many times, um, maybe instead of that token, some other token is chosen. So temperature parameter flattens out the difference. And the end goal is same. After flattening out the difference, now when the penalty is applied, it will have more effect on the end result. So what is the end goal? To have variety of tokens in the response. To have variety of tokens in the response. Now you will say even top P does that. Even top P tries to, introduce variety. And I'm saying even temperature does that. Yes, both are working for the same exact goal. That's why if I click on this info icon, it will say both top P and temperature are working to achieve the same exact goal. That's why it's suggested to use one out of these two and not both. If you want to assign both, that's fine, but it's suggested to use one out of these two. Okay. So guys, that is how temperature parameter works. With this, our main agenda of today's session is done. Today, I just wanted to show you that how you can interact with a GenAI model, how to do prompt engineering. So guys, one way of prompt engineering was by using these messages like system message, user message, assistant message. Using that also, we can engineer the response of the model. Apart from that, by setting the value of parameters also, we can engineer the response of the model. Okay. So here in today's session, I just wanted to show you how you can interact with a GenAI model and how you can do prompt engineering in it. This was just a 2 hour session. Okay. Going forward, hopefully we'll conduct more sessions where, we'll go into depth of other aspects of the model response as well. Today, I just showed you simple prompt engineering. So guys, whatever we did today, did it make sense? I hope it was useful. Was it clear, guys? The explanation? Everyone? Yes. Aditi, Kuvar, Sonal. Okay, fine. Other students, fine. All right. So that is it for today's session, guys. Um, Hopefully, we'll connect in some other session going forward where we'll learn more about GenAI. Okay, there are multiple things you can do, guys. You can pass your own data to the GenAI model so that the GenAI model gives you response based on your own data. There are multiple things we can do. Okay, hopefully it's some future lecture we'll be able to cover that. Fine. So that was the agenda for today's session. Here I showed you how to interact with a GenAI model and do simple prompt engineering. Before leaving, make sure that you fill up the feedback form. It will take a minute or so. Make sure that you fill it up. And that's it for today's session, guys. Thank you for attending, and hopefully we'll meet in some other webinar going forward. Thanks once again, and bye everyone. Bye guys.
Everyone, please, it's a request. Please do give your feedback for ending the session. We have shared the link in the chat box. Everyone, please, it's a request. For ending the session, your feedback. I hope everyone enjoyed the session. Thank you so much again. Once again, you guys have been really great in the session. Thank you so much.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
She. Hello, I am Professor C.R. Kuvar from Department of ENTC, Siagad College of Engineering. So I'll take this opportunity to thank Shubh Parmar, Smith Shah as a valuable speaker and Archie Jain to schedule this wonderful webinar for our student itself. It was really quite good, interesting and interactive session. As Smith Shah introduced quite good concepts about generative AI regarding that sentimental response, model response, chat parameters, token and probability. The concept which is explained by Smith was quite new and good for our student also. I hope students are able to understand that there is a long way journey to go ahead, and if they want to land in the field of AI and IT industries, so there is a lot of thing for them to learn, and that is quite uh, actively prompted by our speaker itself. So I'm taking this opportunity to thank a Synergetic team for conducting this wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. I appreciate. That's it for the day. Thank you so much, everyone, once again for attending. Once
हेलो
you're done with your feedback, yes,
हेलो
yes.
सर वो बैजेस में रिडीम नहीं हो रहा कोड
हाँ हम लोग मैं फिर से भेजता हूँ. I'll
Shubh, you
check
can
and I'll.
explain now once.
Uh, yes. We have shared. I'll share it again. Just have to follow those steps. Uh, it will ask you to log in to your Microsoft account, or if you don't have.
सर आई लॉग्ड इन बट इट शो वी कैन नॉट फाइंड दिस कोड इन आवर सिस्टम प्लीज कांटेक्ट योर इंस्ट्रक्टर
Okay, I'll check and I'll get back to you. I'll share it in the chat box once again.
Shubh, you can try once on that link.
Yes, I'll do that.
दिस लिंक आल्सो सी वी कैन नॉट फाइंड दिस कोड इन आवर सिस्टम प्लीज कांटेक्ट योर इंस्ट्रक्टर
Okay, yes, I can see that the same thing. Just wait for a few minutes. I'll troubleshoot this problem. Get back.
What happened, Shubh?
ओके
Hello guys. I think that there is a technical issue from their end from Microsoft. But don't worry. Uh, we will share this badge link with your professors. Arch will share it with your professor. So they will share it with you. So no worries. We'll share the link when it's working properly. Uh, so everyone, you can end the session now. If you have, submitted your feedback, you can end the day. Thank you. Um, uh, those who are still there, we have shared the link again. I'm sorry for this inconvenience. We have shared the link again. This link is working properly right now. So request you to redeem your badges, and once you are done, you can end the day. I'm so sorry everyone for this inconvenience. We have shared the link again, and this is working properly. So redeem your badges, and then you can end the day. Thank you so much.